Hello everyone and welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight. This is your time. A quiet moment just for you. To slow down, breathe deeply, and let go of everything that's been weighing on your mind. In this video, we'll share a gentle, soothing bedtime story designed to help you relax and drift off to sleep peacefully. As you listen, imagine the world outside growing still, the air softening, and your thoughts gently settling like leaves on calm water. There's nothing you need to do right now, no deadlines, no worries, no rush. Just find a comfortable position, maybe dim the lights, and allow your body to sink into the bed or the couch beneath you. Let the rhythm of the story guide you, like a quiet river flowing toward rest. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Each word is here to bring you back, to remind you that this is your safe space, a space of calm and comfort, where the only goal is peace. So take one deep breath in, and let it out slowly. Feel your shoulders drop, your hands unclench, and your whole body release the day. Now let's begin tonight's story. The rope bites into your palms as you hoist the mainsail, the coarse fibers grinding into your skin, already raw from days at sea. Salt has dried in the creases of your fingers, and your knuckles are cracked and bleeding. The sail flaps above like a wounded bird before catching the wind, and the creak of the mast settles back into its usual groan. You've done this task so many times that your body moves before thought. You barely notice the bruise blooming on your shoulder from when the yardarm swung loose last night in the storm. Sleep is a memory. Time is measured in bell rings and bread crusts. The ship is a cog, a wide-bellied merchant vessel with a single square sail and a deep hold. 40 souls live aboard her, most of them pressed together like salted fish below deck, in a space meant for cargo, not men. The air below is warm and fetid, soaked with the stench of unwashed bodies, damp wool, rotting provisions, and the tang of bilge water sloshing in the lowest deck. You share a hammock with two others, rotating rest like dogs in a hunt. You haven't seen land in a week, perhaps more. No one is sure anymore. The days blur under the gray canopy of sky and the monotony of sea that stretches like a steel sheet in every direction. The wind has turned colder. The wool of your tunic clings damply to your back, and the hood offers little protection from the mist that finds its way into every seam. Your feet are never dry. Blisters, sores, and trench rot chew at the skin between your toes, and you dream sometimes of dry straw and a clean blanket, the way others dream of women. Food comes from a communal pot, boiled grains with salted meat, when there is meat. Mostly, it's ship's biscuit. Dry, tooth-breaking, crawling with weevils. You've stopped picking them out. They're better than nothing. Fresh water is measured by the drop. Ale is safer, but it turns sour in the barrel. Last night, someone vomited in the hold. No one bothered to clean it. There's nowhere for the filth to go. Your duties change by the hour, coiling ropes, scrubbing the deck with seawater and ash, manning the rudder when the helmsman stumbles with fever. You climb the rigging in the black of night with fingers that barely grip. You sleep against barrels and wake with rats nibbling your hair. You pray not to be saved, but merely not to be forgotten. The captain speaks little, a Frank with weather-burned skin and a mouth full of broken Latin. His cabin is partitioned with heavy canvas, its privacy mocked by the creaking of every footstep. He keeps to his ledgers, scrawling on parchment that smells of damp ink and sweat. You've seen him strike a sailor for muttering about turning back. His whip is rarely clean. Some on board whisper of sea monsters, of mermaids who sing sailors to madness. One of the boys, Tomas, swore he saw a glowing fin beneath the waves. He hasn't spoken since. Now he just sits at the bow, rocking. Sometimes he laughs when no one's speaking. You avoid him now. You avoid most. Above deck, the gulls have vanished. A bad sign. The wind has shifted again. South, maybe. The navigator, a bent man with no teeth and inked stars on his fingers, studies the sun with a cracked astrolabe. He mutters to himself, sweat trickling down his nose despite the chill. No one trusts him. His last voyage ended with 5 dead and a wrecked hull. Rain comes like a curtain, not a storm, just a constant, chilling drip that seeps into your soul. The timbers creak louder. Someone says the keel has split slightly, but there's no wood to patch it. Below, men bail in shifts, passing buckets hand to hand like penance. You think of your home, a village near Rouen, tucked between two rivers. You remember the smoke curling from your mother's hearth, the sour smell of the cowshed, your brother's crooked smile. You remember the girl with the red scarf, the one you were going to marry when you returned. You try not to think of her now. At night, the sea groans like a wounded thing. The planks shift beneath your feet as you sleep, and dreams come disjointed and thick with dread. You dream of sinking, of cold black water pouring into your lungs. You dream of your name being swallowed by the sea. You wake to shouts, a shape on the horizon, not land but another ship, closer than it should be.
No flag.
No signal. Silence. The crew rushes to the side, peering into the mist. It looms larger, dark and still, sails slack.
No voices.
No movement. Just the hollow sound of waves slapping against its hull. Your stomach knots. Something's wrong. You clutch the rail, watching it draw closer, drawn by current or curse. The ship bears scorch marks. Torn canvas flaps from the yardarm like a tattered shroud. You glimpse a face, or think you do, eyes wide, mouth open, and then it disappears into fog. No one speaks, not for hours. The wind dies, the ship drifts, the silence returns, and you begin to understand that it may never leave. The fog thickens by morning, folding in around the hull like damp wool, swallowing the horizon and muffling every sound. You can barely see past the prow. The sea is flat, without motion, as if time itself has stopped. Even the gulls remain silent. Your fingers tremble as you ladle thin gruel into a wooden bowl. The cook, a gaunt man missing 2 fingers, stirs the pot without speaking. No one looks one another in the eye. The memory of the ghost ship, if that's what it was, clings to everyone like mildew. You still see it when you close your eyes. The burned canvas, the figure, or was it a trick of light? No one will say. Your portion of food is warm, barely, but it does little to chase away the cold burrowed deep in your chest. Your bones ache. Dampness has worked its way into every joint. Each step on the deck sends a quiet throb up your spine. The wool tunic you wear has gone sour from the wet. The sleeves hang heavy. Lice have made a home in the seams. You scratch absently as you lean against a coil of rope, trying to find a position that doesn't make your back scream. They buried a boy this morning. Another apprentice, no older than 13. Fever. His face turned purple before the end. The priest mumbled last rites over the side, voice swallowed by the sea. They wrapped him in sailcloth and slipped him into the water without ceremony. The splash barely broke the stillness. He didn't even have a name you remembered. Just the little one with the cough. You avoid the stern now. The smell is worse there. Rats have gotten into one of the barley sacks, and the captain refuses to waste more rations on baiting them. They scurry in plain view now, bold as anything. One crawled over your ankle last night while you were trying to sleep. You kicked, but it didn't run. Just stared, whiskers twitching, before vanishing into the shadows. Each hour is a repetition. Scrub, haul, coil, bail. The bell rings and you rise. The bell rings and you sleep. You lose track of the days, of your own voice. Conversation has become rare. The older sailors mutter prayers in their dialects, fingers tracing worn crosses or bone charms. The younger ones watch the sky like animals sensing a storm. One of them, Gregor, from Antwerp, screamed last night, woke the whole hold with his cries, said he saw shadows crawling on the ceiling. The surgeon, if he can be called that, bled him with a rusted knife and slapped a poultice of moldy herbs on his forehead. Now Gregor lies quiet, mouth open, staring. He hasn't blinked in hours. You were told sea travel was a path to glory. You imagined discovery, gold, adventure. Even when they told you it would be hard, you never imagined this. Not the emptiness, not the silence that carves into you like a knife. You miss the weight of soil under your feet, the sound of dogs barking in the fields, the sting of summer sun on your neck. You even miss the ache in your arms from swinging a scythe. That pain was honest. The sail flaps suddenly. A breath of wind, barely enough to stir it. You and 3 others jump to the ropes, hauling with sluggish limbs. For a moment, you think you can smell something on the breeze. Pine? Smoke? Then it's gone. The wind dies as quickly as it came. The sail falls slack again. The silence returns. The ship is still adrift. The compass has turned erratic, its needle spinning like a madman's eye. The navigator insists it's just interference, that the stars will guide them once the sky clears. But you've watched him at night, peering at the heavens with trembling hands. He no longer charts the stars, only stares at them, muttering names you don't recognize. You wonder if you're still moving, if the sea itself has gone still, like some frozen lake cursed to hold you forever. The water has turned oily, strange. Not even a ripple against the hull. Sometimes you feel the ship listing slightly, a slow roll like breath. But when you look around, the sea is as flat as glass. A fever's begun in your own chest. At first it was a chill, then a weight. Your breath is short. You cough at night. You try not to let the others hear. Fever means the surgeon, and the surgeon means leeches, or worse. His tools are crusted with the blood of the last man he worked on. That man didn't wake up. That night, the fog breaks for a heartbeat. A pale moon gleams above, full, rimmed in a red halo. You crawl above deck for air, stomach churning, sweat pouring down your neck despite the chill. And then you see them, lights, far off on the water. At first they look like stars, but they move, lanterns swinging gently, bobbing in rhythm. A fleet, perhaps, but there is no sound.
No oars. No sals.
Just the glow, and then they vanish. No one else sees, or no one admits they do. Below, someone is weeping softly. You press your head against the damp wood, close your eyes, and try to imagine soil, hearth smoke, the warmth of a fire. You try to remember your sister's laugh. You try to believe you will return. But your body aches in places you didn't know existed. Your heartbeat sounds like distant drums. And when you wake from a shallow sleep at dawn, there is a new smell on the wind. Burnt pitch. You don't know if it's coming from the sea or from within the ship. But you rise anyway. You rise because there's nothing else to do. And because something has changed. The smell clings to everything now. Burnt pitch and wet rope, soaked timber, old blood. You wake with it in your nose, in your throat, like you've been sleeping in a chimney. When you swallow, the taste is acrid. Your tongue feels thick. You stagger to your feet and brace against the bulkhead. The boards are slick under your fingers, the wood swollen with moisture and years of salt. Your knees crack as you move. Sleep has become shallow, riddled with tremors and fragments of dreams you can't remember. You've begun to fear what you might recall. Above deck, the sky has turned a strange shade of copper. Clouds hang low and unmoving. The sea reflects the hue, making it seem as if you sail on molten metal. There's no wind. The sail droops lifelessly, like a flag at a grave. Yet the ship still drifts, pulled by some unseen current. You can feel the shift beneath your boots, subtle but steady. No one speaks anymore unless forced to. You pass a sailor near the bow. You think his name is Ulrich, but he only stares through you, eyes rimmed red, skin flaking at the edges like old parchment. You don't greet him. You haven't spoken aloud since yesterday. Maybe longer. The silence binds you like another rope. The rats are bolder now. They've made their home in the grain sacks and scamper freely across the deck at night. One chewed through a sleeping man's ear 2 nights ago. He didn't wake until morning. Now he wraps his head in linen and refuses to lie down. Your own flesh has taken on a grayish tone. The cut on your leg from the coiled anchor rope has begun to fester. You tried to wash it with seawater, then with vinegar stolen from the cook stores, but it only grows hotter. The skin around it throbs with each heartbeat. When you press the flesh, yellow pus leaks from the edges. You cover it with a scrap of linen and pretend not to limp. The captain remains locked in his canvas-walled cabin. Some say he's ill. Others say he's gone mad. No one's seen him in 2 days. The first mate, Henrik, a Saxon with a weathered face and a permanent sneer, has taken over. He orders with a bark and strikes with a fist. He's more feared than the captain ever was. But fear doesn't hold the ship together like it used to. The wood groans louder than any voice. The nails creak. The hull shivers in the night. This evening, the priest collapses. He's an old man, withered by sun and sea. He mutters Latin with each breath, even unconscious. His fingers twitch in the air, as if drawing invisible symbols. The surgeon leeches him behind a crate. You hear the priest whimper once, high and sharp, like a child, and then fall silent. The cloth they cover him with flutters in the breeze. Wait, breeze. Your head snaps up. The sail flutters. Real wind. Not a gust, but something more. You're already moving before you think. Others do the same. Hands scrambling for rope, arms pulling with renewed, frantic energy. Muscles strain. The mast creaks under sudden pressure. The sail swells, and just like that, the ship lurches. You stumble, catch yourself on a barrel. Shouts ring out across the deck. Not commands, not fear, but something like hope. The prow cuts through the water again. Spray hits your face. The sea is alive. The navigator reappears, eyes bloodshot, jaw clenched. He limps to the helm, consulting his charts with trembling fingers. The compass swings again, though less wildly. He mutters, but the words have rhythm now. Direction, purpose. Hours pass. The ship glides forward, carving a narrow path through the fog. You remain at the ropes until your fingers go numb. The motion steadies your thoughts. Feels like returning to the world. Then the fog parts. You see it first, dark smudge on the horizon. A line too straight to be cloud. The cry goes up, land. Someone falls to their knees in prayer. Others begin weeping openly. One man collapses with laughter. Your heart surges, but you keep your mouth shut. You've learned better than to hope too loudly. As the coast draws nearer, details sharpen. Forested hills, jagged cliffs, a black beach, no harbor, no town. Wild, raw land, the kind not marked on any chart. Henrik insists it's just a known inlet. Shelter from storm. He orders the anchor prepared. But even he avoids looking at the shoreline for too long. You're ordered into the longboat, along with 6 others. Reconnaissance. Find water. Wood. Game if you're lucky. They hand you a rusted axe, a half-blunted dagger.
No armor.
Just your threadbare tunic and a patchy cloak that stinks of mildew. The boat lowers with a groan of ropes. Sea spray hits your face, cold and bitter. The sand crunches beneath your boots like bone. The beach is empty.
No birds. No footprints.
Only driftwood and seaweed rotting in brackish pools. The forest looms beyond, thick, dark, tangled. The trees seem older than any you've known. Bark split like scar tissue. Branches twisted as if in agony. You press onward. The silence follows. The forest consumes sound. Even the crunch of leaves underfoot seems swallowed whole. The others grow uneasy. One vomits without warning. Another prays under his breath. You all press deeper, searching for a stream, for anything. The sky darkens. Clouds gather once more. Thunder rumbles far off. Then you see it. A structure. Not stone. Not wood. Something in between. Walls half collapsed. Overgrown with moss, yet unmistakably shaped by hands. Not yours. Not from any land you know. The others stop. One begins to sob. Another bolts into the trees. You do not follow him. You move forward, drawn by something you don't understand. At the base of the ruin, you kneel. Touch the stone. It's warm. And your name, your true name, the one you've never told anyone, whispers itself in your mind. The wind picks up. Behind you, the longboat is gone. You don't speak. No one does. The absence of the longboat anchors your silence more than fear could. 7 men came ashore. Now only 6 remain, and none of you saw it leave. No sound of oars, no cry of alarm. Just gone. The boat, the man who fled, the line that tied you back to the ship. The ruin breathes behind you. You rise slowly. The moss under your palms leaves a faint green smear on your skin. The others shift restlessly. One of them, Mathis, the one with the broken nose and stained wool cap, won't stop whispering. You can't make out the words, but they're steady, rhythmic. A litany, perhaps, or a prayer in some dialect you don't recognize. The forest presses in. The branches above don't sway with the wind. They twist slightly, in slow patterns as if listening. No birds call. Not even the insects sing. It's the silence that changes you, more than the ruin. That thick, pressing silence. Like the world forgot to breathe. Henrik's voice comes sharp and low. We move inland. We find water. We return. That's all. You nod, though your throat is tight. The others follow. The ruin stays behind, watching with stone eyes buried in ivy. You walk for hours, though time feels fractured now. The sky above remains a bruised gray, stained by slow-moving clouds that never fully settle. Every clearing looks like the last. The air grows thick with dampness. You hear water at last. A trickling, faint and clear. Relief wells in your chest. You break into a jog. It's a spring, rising from a cleft between two rocks, cold and clean. You fall to your knees and drink until your teeth ache. One of the others splashes his face. Another fills a cask. The mood lightens for a breath, like a fever breaking. Then you notice the stones. Just beyond the spring, half buried in the loam, shapes too even to be natural. Not graves, markers. Dozens of them set in a circle. Each stone has faint carvings. You wipe the moss from one with the sleeve of your cloak. No writing, just a groove curved, precise like a crescent moon or a sickle. Mathis vomits. He doesn't try to explain. You sleep in shifts that night, huddled under a rough lean-to made from broken branches and a bit of sailcloth someone thought to bring. The ground is wet. You lie on your side, leg pulsing with infection, lips dry despite the spring. Every time you drift into sleep, you hear things. Not voices, movements, low clicks, the hush of leaves parting, the sound of someone breathing just behind you, though when you turn, there's only shadow. In the darkest hour, someone cries out. It's Peter, the boy with the crooked teeth. He was closest to the edge of camp. You scramble to your feet, heart slamming, axe in hand. But he's gone.
No scream.
No sound of struggle. Just gone. You find his cloak snagged on a branch. No blood.
No footprints.
You don't sleep again. At dawn, Henrik says nothing. His face is pale. He lights a torch, though the sun has risen. You all follow. Back toward the beach. Back to the place where the longboat should have been. When you break through the final tangle of trees, your breath catches. The ship is still there, anchored in the bay. But it's wrong. The sails are down. The rigging hangs limp, tattered. The colors are faded not just from distance but age. The wood is gray, splintered. The hull lists slightly. You can't see movement on the deck. No crew.
No voices.
No bell. The sea laps gently at the shore, and with each wave, a smell rises. Iron and rot. You step forward, uncertain, boots sinking into black sand. The water touches your toes. It's warm. A shadow moves on deck. Then another. Not men. Henrik grabs your arm. His grip is iron. His mouth moves but no sound comes. Behind him, the forest sways slightly, though there is no wind. Then the bell rings. Clear, sharp, familiar. The sound of watch change, but drawn out too slow, as if the rope is being pulled by a hand that has forgotten strength. The sound vibrates in your chest. The others stumble back. One runs. Into the trees. You don't follow. Your eyes remain locked on the ship. The sail lifts slightly, caught by some invisible current. Something glimmers along the railing. Rust? Bone? It's too far to say. But you know that's your ship. And you know just as certainly that it's not. The tide is rising. You step back, up the shore, toward the line of trees. The others are waiting in silence. No one asks what's next. No one dares. The forest yawns behind you, dark and vast. The path forward isn't marked. The path back may never have existed. And so you walk into the trees. The silence follows. The forest closes behind you like a mouth. You don't look back. No one does. The beach is gone before you realize it. The sound of the waves, once constant as breath, fades into nothing. Only the crunch of boots on sodden leaves remains. Each step deeper feels like shedding some memory you can't quite name, your village, the sound of your mother's voice, even the taste of bread. The forest replaces it all with damp and rot and stillness. The trees twist unnaturally, bark mottled with lichen the color of old bruises. Some trunks are split open like wounds, hollow inside. Once or twice you think you see things in those hollows, bones or eyes, but when you glance back they're just shadows. You stop looking. The remaining men are silent. Even Henrik's voice, once harsh and rasped with command, has grown quiet. He gestures now, sharp movements of the hand, like a man directing ghosts. No one questions his authority, not anymore. Food is scarce. The last of the dried meat was eaten yesterday. The grain was left in the longboat. You chew moss, occasionally a strip of bark, though it turns to pulp in your mouth and leaves your tongue numb. Water still flows nearby, cold and clear, but it doesn't quench the hunger that gnaws deeper than the stomach. Your leg has grown worse. The wound weeps constantly, and every step is fire. You tear your cloak to wrap it tighter, but the cloth is stiff with filth. Fever rides behind your eyes now. The trees shimmer when you stare too long. Faces form in the bark, not cruel or kind, just watching. By the third day, one of the men, Jeroen, a Flemish cooper with a hound's face and thick hands, refuses to go on. He drops to his knees, eyes wide, mouth trembling. He says he hears music, pipes maybe, or singing. He starts to crawl back the way you came, muttering apologies to someone you can't see. Henrik strikes him with the flat of his axe. Once, twice. The third blow silences him. No one protests. The rain begins that night. Not a storm, just a steady, cold drizzle that slicks every surface and soaks your skin until you no longer feel dry anywhere. Not in your clothes, not in your bones. You lie under a rock ledge, clutching your arms to your chest, jaw clenched to keep your teeth from chattering. Sleep comes in broken flashes. You dream of the ship again, but not as you last saw it. In your dream, it floats high above the trees, its sail full of black wind, dragging ropes that hang low and curl around the treetops. Figures dangle from them, limp, faceless. You try to call out, but your voice is gone. The forest looks up as one. You wake with your own scream in your throat, fists clenched in soil. Dawn hasn't come, or perhaps it has, and the forest just won't let the light in. By now, you no longer mark time. There are no bells to ring, no horizon to chase, just the slow plodding forward. Your world is measured in blisters, in shivering, in each dry swallow. Then the ground changes. It happens so subtly that you almost don't notice. The slope upward, the way the trees lean away from the path rather than toward it. The moss underfoot is thicker here, softer, and the smell shifts. Less rot, more something else. Henrik raises his hand. Ahead, a clearing. You press forward slowly, boots muffled. A circle of stones, tall, uneven, worn by centuries of wind. Some lean inward, some lie broken. In the center, a pool. Black, perfectly still, untouched by rain. Around it, dozens of tokens. Bundles of feathers, braided strands of hair, carved bits of bone arranged in spirals. One of the men begins to sob. Loud, broken. His voice carries, echoing across the clearing, bouncing off stone and sky. Henrik moves to silence him, but the man stumbles forward instead, toward the pool. His name was Elias. You remember now. He was kind once, shared his biscuit, helped you clean your wound. He steps into the pool without hesitation. The water takes him silently.
No splash. No ripple.
Just gone. The sobbing stops. Henrik stares at the pool, then turns and walks away. No one follows at first. Then you rise, legs heavy, and move behind him. One by one, the others follow. No one speaks of Elias, or of the tokens, or of the silence that thickened the moment he vanished. The path beyond the clearing is narrow, almost invisible. It winds between roots like veins, forcing you to duck and crawl. You don't know if you're being led, or if you're simply following because the alternative is worse. The trees have faces now more distinct. Open mouths, hollow sockets. Some seem to smile. Others watch with unending patience. By nightfall, the forest opens again. This time to a field. A true field. With grass. With wildflowers. With light. A break in the trees lets in sky, and stars shimmer above like frozen fire. You fall to your knees in it. Touch the earth. Let the cold dew soak your palms. The others fan out slowly, some laughing, some weeping. One drops to the ground and begins to eat handfuls of grass. The wind carries a new sound. Bells. Distant, delicate, metallic. Like a monastery cloister, far off on the cliffs. You look up. On the far edge of the field, something rises. A structure. Tall, narrow, half-sunken. Tower and wall, crowned with ivy. Smoke drifts from one corner. You smell bread. Warm. Fresh. Your stomach twists. You haven't smelled bread in weeks. Or longer. Henrik raises his hand again. This time he doesn't need to speak. You all begin to walk. Toward the tower. Toward the bells. Toward whatever waits inside. The field muffles your steps as you move forward, dew soaking into the worn leather of your boots, the cold settling into your toes. The wind tugs lightly at your cloak, carrying with it the scent of something impossible. Baked rye, charred wood, wet stone. You breathe through your mouth, afraid that if you smell too deeply, the illusion will shatter. But the scent lingers. It's real. The tower looms ahead, taller than it seemed from the field. Stone dark with moss, but solid, unmoving. The lower half is half sunken into the slope of a hill, and from this distance you can just make out the edges of carved stone windows, shutterless and black. The roof is half collapsed. One corner is lost entirely, the rubble spread in a fan of broken masonry and ivy-choked timbers. But above it smoke still rises. Thin, blue. Henrik steps slow. He glances over his shoulder, at you, at the others, but says nothing. The field narrows into a path once more. Not one made by men, but by animals perhaps, or something else that passed here too many times. A door waits at the base of the tower. Heavy oak, iron-bound. One hinge warped with age. Someone has carved symbols into the planks. Deep gouges that cross and twist in looping patterns. They look like runes, though none you recognize. The door hangs slightly ajar. No one moves. Then a sound. Not a voice. Not quite. A low humming, rising from within the tower. Melodic, tuneless. Like someone remembering a song they never learned. The smell of bread grows stronger. Something crackles. Fire. Henrik steps forward. His hand is tight around his axe. You can see his knuckles whitening even in the gloom. He pushes the door open. It groans against stone. The sound like a moan rising from deep in the earth. Inside, light flickers. Firelight, golden and soft, pooling across flagstones slick with moss. The room is circular. The walls bowed outward, remnants of plaster clinging to stone. A hearth burns on the far side, impossibly warm. Over it, something hangs. A blackened cauldron, steam rising from the mouth. A woman stands beside it. Her back is to you. Her gown is coarse wool, dyed with a faded blue that brushes the floor in uneven folds. Her hair is long gray, twisted into a single braid that coils down her back like a length of old rope. She stirs the pot with a wooden spoon, humming softly. Henrik freezes. You step inside. The warmth hits you like a wall, real, solid, shocking. Your skin tightens from the sudden change. You feel lightheaded. The others follow slowly, hesitant. The woman doesn't turn. "You're late," she says. Her voice is low, calm. No accent you recognize. No fear. She dips a ladle into the cauldron and pours steaming liquid into a wooden bowl that waits beside a stack of broken plates. No one moves. The woman turns at last. Her eyes are the color of ash, sunken, rimmed with red. She looks at each of you in turn, slowly, deliberately, then rests her gaze on you. "You're limping," she says. "Sit." Your legs obey before your mind does. You drop to a stone ledge by the wall, breathing hard. The pain in your leg flares sharp, but the warmth numbs it at the edges. She ladles another bowl, then another, hands them out with practiced ease. One man refuses to take it. She shrugs and sets it on the floor beside him. Henrik finally speaks. "What is this place?" She smiles faintly. "A place that remembers." "Eat." He does not. "You do." The broth is thin but warm. Carrots, onion, a hint of meat you don't recognize. It burns your cracked lips, your sore throat, but you drink it all. The bowl is empty before you realize you were even hungry. The others eat too, some sobbing into their bowls.
Henrik watches.
The woman does not speak again. When the fire burns low, she begins to hum once more. The tune coils in the smoke, almost familiar, like something your grandmother might have hummed while spinning wool. Then, without warning, she stops. She sets her ladle aside. "Upstairs," she says. "There are beds. No one moves." She looks at you again. "You won't dream. That's the only kindness left." You climb. The stairs spiral up the inside of the tower, each step uneven and worn. You pass windows choked with ivy. You hear the wind again, faint through the stones. You hear your heartbeat louder. The room at the top is round, roofed with beams blackened by time. Straw mattresses line the walls. Not clean but dry. You fall onto one. The others do the same. No words, no questions. And for the first time in weeks you sleep.
No faces.
No whispering trees. No ship. Just dark. Just stillness. When you wake, it is not to silence, but to bells. Real bells, ringing from somewhere distant and deep. You sit up, heart pounding. The others stir. Henrik stands by the window watching something you cannot see. He doesn't speak, but you rise, because you know now, the path didn't end here. It only turned. The tower is colder when you descend. The fire is out. Only embers remain, pulsing faintly beneath a skin of ash. The smell of bread is gone, replaced by old stone and damp straw. The hearth looks smaller now. The cauldron empty. The ladles, the bowls vanished. The woman is nowhere. Not in the lower chamber, not near the door. Just her chair, still warm to the touch, and a bundle of dried herbs tied neatly with red thread resting on the seat. Henrik picks them up, sniffs once, then tucks them into the fold of his tunic. No one asks why. The bells soft, distant, constant, not clanging like a summons, but ringing with slow, measured clarity. They don't echo. The sound seems to fold in on itself, as if the air holds it close. You listen and a part of you wants to kneel. Another part wants to run. You step outside. The sky is still bruised, purple-black, with streaks of rotted gold. The field stretches wider than you recall, taller grasses shivering in waves. The flowers have wilted overnight. Their petals hang like tongues. The path has changed. No longer a narrow trail but a true road now. Flagstones smoothed by centuries, rimmed with moss and pale mushrooms. Curves east into a gap between the hills. The bells grow louder as you near it. You follow. No one speaks. The men walk as if asleep, arms limp, breath slow, eyes on the road. Your leg has stiffened overnight, but the fever is gone. We're changed. It no longer burns, it hums. The pain has receded into a dull echo, like a memory you don't entirely trust. The wind shifts. You smell smoke again, with smoke, yes, but something richer beneath it. Beeswax, tanned leather, dust, the smell of life. And then the village appears. A ring of low stone huts nestled in a hollow, roofed in turf and bramble. Smoke curls from a few chimneys. Fences made of crooked branches line what was once a path, now overtaken by grass. No animals in the pens.
No carts. No voices.
You descend slowly. Each step echoes strangely against the stones, like walking through a memory. A raven watches from the beam of a ruined cart, head cocked. It doesn't fly away. One of the doors swings open. A man steps out. He wears a robe of undyed wool, frayed at the sleeves, hood pulled low. His face is hidden. In his hands he carries a taper lit, though no wax runs. The flame is white, unmoving. He raises the candle toward you, then turns, and walks toward the chapel. You follow. You all do. The road leads into the village center, where a crumbling stone church leans slightly to one side, its belfry missing the top. Vines claw up its face, thick as ropes. The doors are iron-bound, black with age. The man enters. Henrik glances at you. His face is drawn, his jaw clenched. He's afraid, but he pushes open the chapel doors. Inside, it's dark, but not blind. Candles line the edges, dozens of them, set in skulls, in hollowed stones, in rusted sconces. The man stands before the altar, taper raised. The altar is nothing but a slab of stone, broken in the middle, stained darker than time. And behind it, a figure. She is not the woman from the tower. She is younger, perhaps, or only seems so. Her hair is coiled around her throat like a scarf, long and thick. Her eyes are closed, her hands resting on her knees. She sits in a chair made from bones and branches. She breathes, slow, even. The bell sounds again, from somewhere inside, not above, from below the chapel, as if the ground itself is tolling. Each strike sinks into your marrow. She opens her eyes. You fall to your knees, not by will. Your legs fold beneath you. The others do the same. Henrik resists longer, but eventually he bows his head. She speaks. Your ship is gone. Her voice is soft, like the rustle of dry leaves. You've eaten what was offered. You've walked where you should not. You drank from the spring. You entered the stone circle. She does not raise her voice, but each word hits like a stone dropped into still water. You have crossed. She rises slowly, bones cracking as she moves. She is taller than she seemed seated, taller than Henrik, taller than anyone should be. You are not lost, she says. You are changed. Her hand extends. In her palm something glitters. A coin.
No markings.
Just wait. Henrik steps forward first. He takes it. You feel your heart pound, each beat like a bell strike. One by one the others approach. Receive their coin. Clutch it like a promise or a curse. When she looks at you, it is not like being seen. It is like being remembered. You step forward. Her hand is cold. The coin is warm. As it touches your skin, the chapel tilts. No, not the chapel. The world. Stone, wood, bone, light, everything bends. Sounds stretch. The flame of the candle rises, twisting into a line that dances like a serpent. Then darkness. Not absence, but arrival. You wake on damp stone. It isn't sleep you've come from. It's something deeper, like drowning but backward. Your lungs burn with the shock of breath. Your ears ring with silence. The chapel is gone. So are the men.
No Henrik. No footsteps. No voices.
Just you, lying on a slab of slate inside a cavernous space that seems to stretch without end. There are no walls, only arches, endless arches, each receding into shadow. Candles float in the air, suspended without wax or wick, glowing with that same white fire. You sit up. The coin is still in your hand, pulses faintly, like a heartbeat. Your leg has healed. The wound is gone. The fever, the rot vanished without scar. You flex your toes inside your boot, disbelieving. There's strength again in your limbs. But the hunger remains. Deeper now, sharper, like a truth uncovered. You stand. The echo of your movements rolls through the space, returning as whispers. Not in your language, not in any you know, yet you understand. Walk. So you do. The arches lead you onward. Stone beneath your boots, smooth and dry. Here and there, remnants of things. A broken shield, a piece of sailcloth nailed to the wall by a black iron spike, a helm filled with seawater though no rain falls. As you pass under one of the larger arches, a gust of wind pushes against your chest. Carry smells. Rust, wool, burnt honey. The scent of camps and fires and mourning. The candles bend with it. You step into a new chamber. A ship hangs suspended in the air. It floats without motion, its hull dark with barnacle and age. The sail is half raised, patched and torn. Ropes hang limp from the yardarm. At first you think it's your ship, but it's not. It's older, larger, Viking in shape. The carvings on the prow are worn smooth. The shields lashed to the rails are split. Below it, a man sits cross-legged, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. His beard is thick and gray, his arms tattooed with runes. One eye is milky white, the other looks at you. You crossed. His voice is gravel and smoke. You nod. You don't know why, but yes, you did. He gestures to the ship. Yours. You hesitate.
No.
He nods, satisfied. Good. Behind him, another arch. Through it, movement. You step closer. He does not stop you, only watches. As you cross into the next space, the sound changes. Water. Not sea, but river. You see it, running black and slow between stone banks. A single boat is moored there. Small. Just large enough for one.
No oars. No sal.
A lantern hangs from its bow, unlit. On the shore, a post rises, tall, thin, carved with hundreds of notches. Bone fragments dangle from its top, clinking softly in the unseen breeze. Beneath it, a basin. Stone. Shallow. Your coin glows faintly. You kneel. The basin is empty, but as you hold the coin above it, it begins to fill. Not with water, but light. Thick, golden, like melted sun. It swirls and reflects your face. Not as it is now, as it was before the ship. You lower the coin. The liquid vanishes. The basin is dry, and the boat waits. You step into it. It does not rock. It does not move. Not until you sit. Then, silently, it pushes away from the shore. No hands guide it. No current pulls it. You float forward. The arches recede. The stone banks vanish. The cavern dims. All that remains is the sound of water and the reflection of that strange white lantern in the ripples. Time blurs. You see flashes in the water. Faces. Some you know, some you don't. Henrik, silent and strong, kneeling in a chapel of salt. Mathis, muttering in the dark, carving runes into bark. The woman from the tower, standing in a field of ash, hair lifted by wind that doesn't touch the grass. Your ship floats again. High above, broken open, its ribs stretch toward the sky like hands in prayer. You pass beneath it, and then the river ends. The boat glides onto soft earth. Reeds part before it. Light spills from ahead, real light, golden, warm. You step out. The ground is soft beneath your feet. Damp moss, long grass. You are in a grove. At its center, a fire. Not flame, but something brighter. Around it, figures kneel. Some armored, some naked, some crowned, and one empty place. Waiting. You walk toward it. Your coin burns in your palm. You take your place beside the fire. And wait. The grove holds its breath. Flames rise without smoke. They do not crackle or shift. They stand still, pillars of light, unwavering, untouched by wind. The others kneel around it, heads bowed, bodies still as statues. You glance from face to face. A man in chainmail, dried blood crusted into the links. A woman draped in seal fur, her eyes blackened with soot. A boy with no tongue, mouth sewn shut, clutching a carved bird in his lap. None speak. None look at you, yet you feel them. The weight of their presence presses against your chest. Not hostile, but heavy. You lower yourself into the final place. The moss accepts your knees with a soft hush. The coin in your palm throbs once, and then falls silent. You keep your fingers closed around it. You don't know what will happen if you let it go. The fire shifts. It parts. Not dies, not dims, but bends, folding inward to reveal something beyond it. Not behind it. Within. A hall. Wooden beams soar into darkness, their edges marked with scorch and salt. The walls are lined with spears. Above them, shields hang like ancient prayers. The air inside is warm, not from fire, but from memory. The scent of tar, of pine resin, of wet fur and rotting timbers. You rise. Your body follows without command. The others remain kneeling as you pass through the light, though their heads lift slightly as you move. You step into the hall. The door seals behind you with no sound. The light fades. What remains is a soft glow from dozens of tiny oil lamps set into the floor. They mark a path that leads forward, between long tables, toward the high seat at the end. It is empty. On the table closest to you, remnants of a meal lie scattered. Half-burned candles, cracked bowls, bones gnawed clean, bread long hardened into stone. A silver cup sits overturned beside a broken helm. Your hand itches. The coin pulses again. You place it on the table, not by will, by something older. As it touches the wood, it vanishes, sinking as if the table were made of water. Not a ripple remains. From the shadows behind the high seat, a figure steps forward. He wears no crown,
No armor.
just a thick cloak of wool and crow feathers. His skin is weathered, like bark under snow. His hands are clean, empty. His eyes are black, not cruel, not kind, just deep. You arrived whole, he says. His voice is wind in the rigging, creaking wood, the scrape of oars. Most do not. You say nothing. You ate, he says. You drank. You walked beyond the circle. You passed the door. You took the coin. You nod. He steps closer. Each footfall makes no sound, yet the hall responds. Walls flex slightly, shadows deepen, the air itself tightening around your ribs. You crossed with hunger, he says. You may stay, or carry it back. He raises his hand. In it, suddenly, your coin. You hadn't seen him lift it. You hadn't noticed it vanish from the table. But there it is, glowing faintly, pulsing to the rhythm of your breath. If you stay, he says, you will forget. His eyes never leave yours. If you return, he says, you carry it always. He offers the coin. You hesitate. Behind you, the door has reappeared. You cannot see through it, but you can feel the cold beyond. Salt air, ropes, sails, the creak of timber under strain. A world you know, but the hunger will go with you. You take the coin. The hall exhales. The lamps gutter, their flames curling downward, retreating into the earth. The tables vanish. The ceiling becomes sky, night sky, starless. And the floor becomes deck. Old wood.
Familiar sua.
You are aboard a ship, but not the one you left. This one bears no name. The sail is blank. The crew around you does not speak. Their faces are pale, their eyes hollow. They move in rhythm, each task performed as if remembered from another life. You feel the wind again, cuts through your tunic, sharp and real. The horizon is empty. You touch the coin in your palm. It is cold now, and you begin to understand. This voyage has no port, only return. The sail groans above you, filling with a wind that comes from nowhere. The sea is black glass beneath the hull, its surface unbroken even by your passing.
No wak. No foam.
Only a hush, wide and eternal, that stretches to the edge of sight. You stand at the bow, hands gripping the rail. The salt stings your skin, but it feels like truth. Cold. Honest. You don't know how long you've been here. Time bends at sea. The crew moves around you, silent as ghosts. Their faces shift in the mist. One moment they seem like men you knew, Elias, maybe, or Ulrich, and then they're strangers again, faceless beneath hoods, sleeves sodden with brine. None meet your gaze. They do their work with a patience that terrifies you, as if they've done this before, as if they'll do it again. You haven't spoken in days, or hours. The sky has not changed, always overcast, always lightless. A ceiling of gray pressed low over the world. You sleep when your body forces you. You eat from a pot that never empties. Thick broth, always warm, always tasteless. The hunger remains. The coin lies in a pouch at your side. You feel it with every step, every breath like an extra rib. One morning, if it is morning, the sea parts. You see it from the rigging while tightening a line. A ribbon of green ahead, faint, trembling on the horizon. The wind stiffens. Below, the crew stirs, lifting their heads. For the first time, you hear sound. Voices low and fractured, like wind through stone. Not speech, not song, just the possibility of it. Land rises ahead, but not the land you remember. The coastline curves like a serpent's spine, cliffs scored with deep black gouges. Trees grow at impossible angles, branches reaching down instead of up. Birds circle overhead, their wings jagged, their cries muted. The sky here has a pulse. The ship anchors itself. No command, no rope cast. It simply stops. The water is too deep for bottom. Yet you feel the hull rest on something, not stone, not sand. You are ordered ashore. Not by voice, not by gesture. Just the sense that it must be done. You climb into the longboat. 5 others join you, wordless. Their eyes shine with salt light. You recognize none of them. The oars move. The sea yields. The shore receives you. Black sand crunches beneath your boots. It stains the leather, sticks to your fingers. The cliffs loom, casting no shadow. A narrow path winds upward, carved by something ancient and indifferent. You follow it. The others remain by the boat, watching. The climb is long. Your breath shortens. The coin grows heavier with every step. You feel it dragging at your side, as if the earth itself wants it back. The air thins. Mist curls around your boots. At the summit, a gate awaits. Stone. Enormous. 2 slabs, carved with sigils so worn they seem like natural cracks. Iron rings hang from either side, rusted and slick with blood-colored moss. The gate is closed, but not locked. You press your palm to it. It opens with no resistance, not even a sound. Inside, a plain of bone, endless. Thousands of rib cages arch from the ground like frozen waves. Skulls are half buried in the soil, eyeless and grinning. Jawbones, femurs, shattered hips, scattered like grain, all pointing toward the center. And at the center, a tree. It is dead, but not. Its bark is charcoal. Its branches are bare, but twitch in the windless air. From one limb, a single figure hangs, bound by the ankles, arms limp. You step forward. The bones do not shift underfoot. They hold. They carry you. As you near the tree, the figure stirs. It's not a corpse. It's you. Your face. Your eyes. Open. Watching. Mouth moving with no sound. Blood trickles from the scalp into the soil. You don't stop. You don't speak. You place your coin at the base of the tree. It vanishes into the roots. The tree shudders. The figure vanishes. The bones sigh, and you are alone again. Then the ground cracks. Not with violence, quietly like splitting wood. A seam opens at your feet, revealing a stair. Stone, wet and worn, leading down. You descend. 1 step, then another, and the door closes above you. The stairwell narrows with each step. The stone grows colder, slick with condensation, etched faintly with lines too worn to read. Your fingers trail along the wall as you descend, not for balance, but for the need to touch something real. The silence deepens. Not absence, but density. Each breath you take seems to press inward, as if the air has weight. You don't hear your footsteps. You barely feel your legs moving. Still, you go down. The smell shifts. Earth first, then rot. Not sharp like death, but sweet. Fermented, like old apples left too long in a cellar. Your throat tightens. You swallow it. Keep walking. After what could be minutes or hours, the stairs end. You step into a chamber so wide that your eyes cannot catch the edges. The ceiling is lost in shadow. The floor is smooth marble, maybe, or bone. In the center stands a single object, a table. It's built of driftwood and iron, stitched together with hemp and sinew. Upon it lies a map, not drawn but carved, etched deeply into the wood. You step closer. It is not a map of lands. It is a map of crossings. Rivers, not roads. Currents, not paths. Every line flows into another. Some end abruptly. Others wind in on themselves. At each intersection, a symbol. A door, a gate, a face, a fire, a coin. You touch one, your fingertip resting on the place where you first drank from the spring. The wood trembles beneath your skin. Light flares across the map. A line glows from the spring through the forest past the ruin across the tower into the chapel and down. Into this very chamber. You are a thread. The map accepts this. On the far wall, a light appears. Pale blue, like moonlight under ice. You approach. It's not a torch, not a lantern. It's a shape, a doorway, not carved, not framed, revealed. Like someone peeled back the stone to let it through. It flickers at the edges, refusing to be seen completely. You pass through. Inside, wind howls. Not around you, but in you. You gasp. The air is bitter cold, the kind that sears your lungs and leaves ice in your nostrils. The path narrows to a bridge, just wide enough for one man, built from planks lashed with rope. Below is nothing. Not darkness, not space, just nothing. A vast absence that pulls at your bones. You step onto the bridge. The wind rises. Voices in it now whispering through your ribs. You understand none of them, yet you recognize every tone. Grief, laughter, hunger, regret. Halfway across, you stop. The figure waits ahead. Cloaked, hooded. They raise their hand. You do not see a weapon. You do not need to. Your coin returns to your palm. You don't remember retrieving it. But it is there, cold and silent, resting in your lifeline. The figure speaks. This is your gate. The voice is your own, but older, worn smooth by time. You raise the coin. The figure nods. You place it into their hand. Their fingers close around it, and the bridge shakes. The wind stops. Silence returns, complete.
No breath. No heartbeat.
The figure turns and walks off the bridge, vanishing into the void. You remain. The gate opens. Stone cracks before you like unfurling wings. Light pours through. Not bright, not blinding, but clean, gentle, soft as a dream you never knew you had. You step through. The sea is there, but this time it is shallow. You stand ankle-deep in tidewater, silt stirring around your feet. The sky is lavender. Birds call in the distance. Behind you, the gate closes. The coin is gone. Your name remains. And ahead, the shore waits, familiar. You see smoke, a fire, and the sails of a ship you remember, swaying in the wind. Not the same, but yours. You walk through the tide as if through memory. Each step brings the shore closer. The sand is soft beneath your boots, but you barely feel it. The water recedes gently, leaving trails of foam that swirl around your ankles. The cries of distant gulls echo across the bay, clear and sharp, grounding you in a way the voyage never could. You breathe in salt and wood smoke. Smells like home, but you don't know if it is. The shoreline slopes gently up into dunes dotted with grass. Beyond them, a fire, smoke curling in the windless air. No movement, no shouts of greeting, just the patient crackle of flame. You crest the hill. There it is. Camp simple, worn. 3 tents, a rack for drying fish, a line of boots placed neatly on a rock. Someone has lived here, perhaps for days, perhaps for years. At the center of it all, a figure sits by the fire. Their back is to you. A wool cloak covers their shoulders, patched and faded. The hair beneath the hood is dark with streaks of gray, tied loosely. They don't turn as you approach. You stop a few paces away. The silence between you stretches like canvas in wind. Then the figure speaks. I've been waiting. The voice is neither male nor female, young nor old, just known, like a sound you remember from before you had words for it. They reach beside them and lift a second cup from the ground. They place it near the fire, gesturing without looking. You sit. The warmth touches your face. The cup is wooden, carved with careful spirals. Inside, tea, or something like it. Steam rises. You drink. Tastes like birch and ash. The figure finally turns. It is your face. Not as it is now. Not as it was. A version unbroken by sickness. Untouched by hunger. Stronger, but not harder. The eyes meet yours and hold no surprise. Only understanding. You made it, they say. You nod. There are others behind you, they say. Some further. Some lost. You don't ask who. You don't need to. You see them in your mind. Henrik still walking beneath the stone. Mathis carving shapes into his own skin. The boy who never returned from the clearing. They won't all arrive here, they say, but some might. One day, the fire pops. A spark leaps into the air and vanishes before it lands. Do you remember your name? They ask. You hesitate. The answer is there, but it feels heavy, rooted. Yes, you say at last, and when you speak it just once, it feels like a gate unlocking. They nod. Then the ship is yours again. You glance over your shoulder. Below the dunes it waits. The sail is furled. The hull mended. No barnacles cling to its side. The rope ladder sways gently in the breeze. You didn't hear it arrive. It simply is. It will take you back, they say. Not where you came from. That place has moved. But back. You ask, will I be the same? They smile just slightly. No one is. You finish the drink. The fire grows quiet. The sea calls again. You rise. Your limbs are steady. The ache is gone. Even the scar from your wound gone. Only memory remains, and it weighs more than the pain ever did. You step down the dune, your boots finding rhythm in the sand. The ship waits with sails like folded wings, mast pointing upward into a sky that no longer presses. You climb aboard. The crew is there. Not the ones you knew, but they recognize you. A nod, a touch to the brow. They make space at the tiller. They do not ask questions. You do not give orders. You belong. The sail unfurls. The wind comes. You turn toward it, and the ship moves forward. Back not to where you began, but toward whatever still waits to be remembered. The ship glides forward, quiet as breath. The sea beneath her bows gently, as if parting in reverence. Above, the clouds scatter, thin veils torn by wind, revealing glimpses of sky that seem almost too vivid to trust. Not the dull, sullen gray of the crossing. This sky carries color, depth, a shade of blue you had forgotten existed. The crew moves with quiet purpose. Each task performed not out of habit, but reverence. Their eyes are downcast, their hands sure. You do not know their names. You will not ask. You stand at the helm, the worn grip of the tiller warm beneath your fingers. The ship doesn't resist your touch. She moves as if remembering you, responding with ease to every shift of your weight. And then you feel it. Not a sound. Presence. You glance aft. There, where the deck meets the sky, stands the figure from the fire. The reflection of your own self, but no longer seated, no longer waiting. Clad in a different cloak now, the fabric threaded with faint silver strands that catch the light and vanish again. They meet your gaze, and in theirs you see no judgment, only certainty. You turn back to the sea. The wind strengthens. The sail swells. The hull lifts slightly as you crest a wave and descend into rhythm. And the horizon breaks, not into land, but into wakefulness. You feel it before you see it, the change. The sea darkens just a shade. The air thickens, tinged with the scent of wet soil and cooking fires. You hear birds again, not the harsh cries of gulls, but small ones, chirping, darting shapes that signal forest, not ocean. You lean forward. There, a river mouth, wide, brown, flanked by reeds and willows. Villages dot the shore. Not the ones you left behind, but like them. Thatched roofs, smoke rising, carts creaking over worn paths, a distant dog barking, a boy chasing a goose through a field. Life. You pull the tiller. The ship turns gently, her keel sliding into the mouth of the river like a knife finding its sheath. The sails are lowered. Oars extend from the sides, manned in silence. And you drift inland. The crew begins to hum. Low. Wordless. The tune coils in the air like steam from a pot, warming you in places long cold. The banks rise higher. Trees lean close. The sky narrows to a tunnel of gold and shadow. The first villagers appear, watching from the edge of the water. Faces cautious, curious. Children hold their mothers' skirts. Old men lean on staves. No one waves. No one runs. But they recognize the ship. Not its shape. Not its crew. Its passage. They've seen it before. You dock at a crooked pier of sun-bleached planks. The oars are pulled. Ropes cast. The ship breathes and stills. You step ashore. The earth holds your weight differently. softer.
familiar.
The scent of pine and bread greets you like a hand on the shoulder. A girl offers you a cup of water. You drink it. Tastes like spring. The villagers do not question where you've come from. They do not ask your name. One simply says, "You'll be wanting a place to sleep." Another adds, "And there's grain to thresh if your back is sound." You nod, and you follow them. The house is small, a single room.
Ο Χάιρς, ο Τσότ, ο Στούλ.
An axe leans against the door. Its edge is clean. Its haft is worn. You run your hand across the wood. Feels right. At night you light a candle. Sit by the fire. Watch its flickering reflection dance in the iron bowl of water near the door. And when you sleep, you dream. Not of ships. Not of trees that whisper or stairwells that breathe. You dream of harvest. Of wind in grain. Of laughter at dusk. You wake with the sun. And begin again. But the coin is still with you. Not in your pouch. Not on your person. Within. It weighs nothing. And everything. Seasons pass. You mark them not with a calendar, but with the tilt of sunlight through the smoke hole, the feel of frost beneath bare feet at dawn, the creak of soil as it thaws. Your days fold into rhythm. Chopping wood, tending the small field behind your house, mending tools, trading stories by the common well. You speak little, but when you do, your voice no longer cracks from disuse. It's low now, measured, shaped by silence rather than broken by it. The villagers accept you. They do not press you for origins. In this place, arrival is explanation enough. And yet, the coin remains. You feel it in the decisions you make, in the stillness before you speak, in the way your hand lingers over a sprouting seed, in the heaviness behind your eyes when the wind shifts. It's not a burden, not exactly, but it is never gone. You find yourself walking more, into the woods, along the banks, into places where the sounds thin out and the air grows old. Something in you seeks it, not escape, not return, but resonance. One morning, before the sun has risen, you wake with your breath caught in your throat. The dream has already begun to vanish. You remember only fragments. A ship sailing upward through a starless sky, a figure at the helm whose face flickered like flame, a bell tolling not from a tower, but from inside your own chest. You rise. Dress slowly. Outside, the world is still dark. The stars are cold above you. The earth frozen hard beneath your boots. But there's no wind, no sound. You follow a path you didn't know you remembered. Past the ash tree where the ravens gather. Past the bend in the stream where iron rusts in the shallows. Past the stone wall, long fallen, covered in lichen like old scars. There, at the edge of a glade, a door. Not freestanding. Not real, just an arch formed by two leaning trees, their trunks fused by time and moss. Between them, the air feels wrong, still but alive. The space shimmers faintly, as if waiting to decide what it will be. You don't step through. You only kneel, place your palm on the earth, and listen. The ground hums, deep and slow, like the breath of a buried heart. You close your eyes. You are not afraid. You've learned the fear has edges, but beneath those edges is something else. Acceptance, maybe, or hunger that finally learned how to wait. The hum sharpens, and in it words not spoken but known. You are the crossing now. You open your eyes. The door is gone. The trees are only trees again, but the path behind you changed. A woman stands there, young, cloaked in rough wool. Her face is streaked with dirt. Her boots are worn. Her eyes are wide, not in fear, but recognition. She does not speak. You step aside. She walks past you, toward where the doorway had been. Stops. She kneels just as you did. You do not tell her what to do. You only wait. When she rises, you walk her back to the village. Give her the empty hut near the well. Show her where the grain is stored, where the stream runs cleanest. She does not ask who you are. But one night, as you sit by the fire, she asks, "Did you come the same way?" And you say, "No." You let the words settle in the space between you. Then you add, "But I came through." She nods. And so it begins again, not as it was, But as it must be, the seasons keep turning. The village breathes in cycles now, like lungs drawing in the years. You see it in the faces of the children who chase dogs through the barley, in the new furrows in the old carpenter's brow, in the way tools pass from hand to hand with fewer questions. The girl who arrived through the glade grows into rhythm with the place. Her boots mended, her eyes sharper. She does not speak often of before, nor do you. But sometimes, when the fire burns low and the wind catches just right, she glances at the woods and says nothing. And you know she remembers the hum. More come. Not many. Never in groups. A young man with salt in his hair and rope burns on his palms. A woman with black ink down her neck in shapes that refuse to stay still. An old monk who no longer wears his robes but mutters verses under his breath as he repairs baskets. Each one comes through differently. Some wake up in the fields, clutching fists of wet grass. Others stumble out of the woods half-blind with thirst. A few arrive through the river, clinging to driftwood with bloodied hands. They all carry it. The silence, the coin, the crossing. You show them how to build, how to plant, how to boil water without rushing. You teach them where the ground is soft and where it lies. You show them which trees lean and which watch. And you learn how to listen to the grain before the sickle, how to recognize the weight behind someone's silence, how to mend a net in ways that hold memory as much as fish. One night the wind returns, not a storm, just a high, steady moan, the kind that brushes the tops of trees and speaks of distance. It whistles through the cracks in the walls, shakes loose flakes of soot from the hearth, and with it comes a bell, distant, low. You rise before the others, walk to the edge of the woods. The arch between the trees has returned, not in shape, but in feel. The air there shimmers again, and you know someone is coming. You wait. By midday they appear. A girl, 12 maybe, filthy, barefoot, wearing only a sailor's shirt far too large for her. Her face is blank with exhaustion, her arms covered in welts, but in her hand, tightly clenched, a coin. She falls to her knees, doesn't cry, just breathes. You kneel beside her. No words, only stillness. She places the coin in your palm without prompting. It is warm. For the first time since your return, you feel its weight again. Not the weight of memory, the weight of choice. That night, the villagers gather. A fire is lit in the center of the square. Not for celebration, for holding, for marking. You speak. She will stay. No one argues. You place the coin into the flame. It doesn't melt. It doesn't vanish. It sinks. And where it rests, the fire shifts, colorless for a breath, then steady again. The girl sleeps beside your hearth that night. In the morning, she asks your name. You give it, and she repeats it once like a spell. From then on, others call you by it again. Not out of formality, but because it means something again. You carry water. You teach her how to wash with ash. You guide her hands over seeds and soil. You tell her when to stop asking questions, and when to listen instead. And slowly, you begin to feel something strange. Not peace, not redemption, but presence. You are here, not between crossings, not beneath gates, but here. And something in the world breathes with you. Spring returns with a hush this time, less of a thaw, more of a remembering. The river loses its crust of ice overnight, not with a groan, but with a quiet surrender. Snow disappears without drama, soaking into the fields as if it had never fallen. The village begins to murmur again. Rakes drawn from rafters, seeds measured by calloused fingers, sleeves rolled and boots resoled. You kneel in the dark soil beside the girl, showing her how to press the heel of her hand into the furrow, how to drop a seed without haste. She doesn't speak as she works. Her breath comes steady, her brow furrowed, not in frustration, but in attention. You remember when your hands were like hers, new to the shape of effort, too small to hold everything they were meant to carry. She hums sometimes now without knowing, a tune you heard once on the ship, sung by a man who never made it to shore. It drifts from her lips like wind over old ropes. You do not stop her. That night, you walk alone to the edge of the woods. The trees are thick with early buds, their branches heavy with what is still invisible. You don't expect to find the arch again, and you don't. Not as it was. But the air still listens here. You sit on the moss, place your palms on the ground. You do not ask for anything. You simply remember, and the earth remembers with you. A few days later, another arrives. A man this time, tall, gaunt, with blood in the creases of his sleeves and eyes that won't settle. He comes stumbling down the road from the marsh, his steps heavy, uneven. The girl sees him first. She doesn't run, doesn't call for you. She walks calmly to where he's collapsed near the well and places a hand on his back. You find them there together, him coughing into the soil, her sitting cross-legged beside him, silent. You recognize the look in his eyes when he lifts his face. The flicker of memory still clawing for shape, the weight of sounds he hasn't yet told himself were real. He sleeps for 3 days. When he wakes, he asks no questions, only follows. He tends to the beehives, quietly, gratefully. Later, you notice something hanging around his neck. Not a coin, a shard of the ship's hull, polished by seawater, drilled and threaded onto a leather cord. He wears it like a saint would wear a relic, close to the heart, hidden until it's needed. More time passes. The girl begins to laugh again. Not often, but fully when it comes. The others notice. A boy gives her a carved figure, a hound, maybe, or a fox. She accepts it without thanks, as if it's been hers all along. You begin to carve again, too. Not to distract your hands, but to remember their shape. You fashion handles for scythes, mend a bench, fit a new wheel to the old cart. You no longer flinch at the sight of rope. Sometimes, when dusk falls and the work is done, you walk to the edge of the river. Not because you're looking for something, but because it's right to look. And there always is the water, slow, patient, reflecting a sky that finally holds stars again. One evening, you see a figure at the far shore. They don't wave, they don't call, but you know they're waiting. You turn back to the village and keep walking. You are not done. Summer rises without ceremony. The fields stretch wide and green under skies that no longer weigh heavy. Wheat sways in rhythms learned from wind and memory. Bees hum across the meadows. Children run barefoot through puddles without fear of what lies beneath. Even the shadows have softened. Your hands are brown now, lined with work. The girl is nearly grown. Her voice has changed, lower, steadier. She moves through the village with the quiet assurance of someone who knows both wait and wonder. She no longer asks about what came before, but she still listens when you speak. The new arrivals come slower now, a handful each season. Most arrive without memory, their hands empty, but some still carry it. A trinket, a whisper, a scar that refuses to heal. You help them as you were helped. You show them where to dig, where to rest, when to speak, and when to let the silence work. They ask fewer questions than they used to, but the ones they ask are different now. What happens to the ship? Where does the fire come from? Why do we remember things we never lived? You do not answer with certainty. You tell them what you've seen, what you've carried, what you've buried. Some find comfort in that. Some simply nod. The girl, now nearly a woman, takes more and more into her own hands. She shows a child how to thatch a roof. She wraps a broken finger in boiled wool and says nothing when the boy winces. She speaks kindly, but not gently. She watches the woods the way you used to, and one morning, she doesn't come to the field. You find her sitting at the edge of the glade, just where the air begins to change. Her legs are crossed. Her hands rest lightly in her lap. She doesn't turn when you approach. "She's close," she says. You don't ask who. Instead, you sit beside her. And you wait. The wind carries something unfamiliar. Not scent, not sound, but a texture, like cloth being unfolded after years in a chest. At dusk, the shape arrives. Not on foot, by water. The river has risen slightly, and a small vessel, barely larger than a cradle, drifts into the reeds near the bend. In it lies a boy, wrapped in coarse linen, eyes open and calm. He doesn't cry. He just watches. The girl retrieves him. You build another hut. this one smaller, rounder, near the trees. She raises him with the same quiet strength you gave her. Others help. The village grows not in size but in shape, in depth, in memory. And one night, a child asks, "What are the ships for?" You do not smile, but your voice softens. "To carry," you say. "To carry what?" You pause. "Whatever we couldn't bring with us." That night, the fire burns lower than usual. The coals glow red and steady. You sit beside it long after the others sleep. The wind shifts once, curling like a question across your face. You rise, step outside. The stars are brighter than they should be. You close your eyes, and in the hush between heartbeats you feel it again. The crossing, not behind, not ahead, but always still within. Autumn arrives gently, like a hand on the shoulder. No storm, no sudden frost, just a slow fading of green into gold, of warmth into breath that hangs in morning air. The fields dry into rustling waves. Trees shed their leaves in unhurried spirals. You spend the days repairing what summer wore down. Fences, tools, paths worn too smooth. The village settles into its quiet season. Even the children seem to understand, their laughter subdued, their games slower, drawn like chalk in the dust rather than carved with noise. The girl, now a woman in all but age, teaches more than you. She takes the boy, now walking, into the woods without fear. She returns with bundles of herbs, with antlers found in the brush, with stories she does not need to explain. The others listen to her now, and she listens to them. At night, when the wind scours the rooftops and owls speak to the dark, you sometimes sit alone by the river. You no longer look for ships, but you feel them. Each ripple carries something. Not always sorrow, not always memory, sometimes just a name, sometimes just a breath. The boy asks about the fire, not why it burns, but why it stays. You have no answer, only this, so we don't forget where we are. He accepts that, and places another branch on the flames. One evening, the woman calls you to the glade. The air is crisp. The trees are half naked, their branches like bones reaching to the sky. The grass crunches underfoot. You find her waiting, arms crossed, face unreadable. "There's someone," she says. You nod, but she shakes her head. "Not like the others." And you understand. At the edge of the glade stands a man, older than any you've seen arrive. Not in years but in bearing. His cloak is worn thin, his boots patched many times over. His eyes, you recognize the eyes. He doesn't speak, doesn't move, just stands, and waits. You cross to him slowly, stop a few feet away. "You crossed long ago," you say. He nods, and turned back. Another nod. "But not through here." His voice comes at last, dry as parchment. "No, but I remembered." You wait. He reaches into his sleeve and draws out a coin. It's not like yours was. Not exactly. Worn thinner, edges smoothed, still warm. He hands it to you. You take it. Pulses once. Not in your palm, but in your chest. He turns then, without ceremony, and walks back into the trees. You do not follow. You do not need to. The woman steps beside you. You offer her the coin. She takes it, and the air shifts. The glade grows still. Not in warning, not in farewell, but in recognition. You return to the village as the stars rise. And that night you dream again. Not of ships or gates or the hum beneath the soil. You dream of a fire that never dies, of hands passing it forward, of a voice, perhaps your own, saying, "This is where we begin." The first frost arrives overnight. You wake to find the fields glazed in silver, the grass brittle underfoot, the breath of the cattle rising like smoke in the pale morning. The trees stand bare now, their branches reaching into a sky so clear it feels fragile. In the village, everything slows. Movements are deliberate. Meals are shared sooner. Words carry more weight, spoken with the knowledge that they might be the last before snow. You feel the change not just in the earth, but in the people. The boy no longer clutches your hand when the wind rises. He walks beside you now, quiet, watching. He touches bark as he passes trees, listens to the sound of crows before they land. He's learning what the air says. The woman is different too, not in distance but in focus. She spends long hours in the woods now, not wandering but watching. She follows the same trails you once did, but she no longer looks for signs. She waits for calls. One evening she returns with blood on her hands. Not her own. A stag, laid out across a sled of boughs, its eyes closed as if in sleep. The villagers do not question her. They help her carry it, skin it, salt the meat. She places the heart in the coals of the communal fire. It hisses, splits. No one speaks. But you know what this means. Something is being marked. Not death, not sacrifice. Recognition. The next day the boy finds the path. Not led, not told. You hear his call at midday, sharp and clear from the edge of the glade. The woman meets you there. Together you follow his voice. And there it is. The arch. The trees have leaned again. Not the same trees, but the same shape. The air between them stirs in a way that makes your skin pull tight. The boy stands just before it, eyes wide. Not in fear, but in knowing. The woman places a hand on his shoulder. He turns to you and says, "I think someone's coming." You don't ask how he knows. You simply kneel and place your hand on the earth. The hum is stronger than ever, deeper, slower, but more present. The trees rustle though no wind moves. And in the silence that follows, you remember the voice in the hall, the cold of the bridge, the flickering edge of the fire. You remember the ship, not as it was, as it will be. The boy does not speak again that day. But that night you find a small stone beside your door, pale, flat, marked with a single carved line. It was not there before. You recognize it. It is a first, a beginning. The fire burns lower these nights. The villagers draw closer. Fewer words, longer silences. You hear old stories return, some from mouths too young to have known them. But they come just the same. The woman sharpens her blade beneath the eaves, her eyes flicking now and then to the woods. Not watching, waiting. The boy builds a cairn by the river. Small stones, stacked with care. No one asks him why. And one morning you wake with the knowledge that the snow will fall tonight. Not from the sky, but from above. You step outside. The wind does not stir, but you feel the world leaning, as if bracing for something just out of sight. The snow falls without sound. No warning, no wind, just a slow descent of pale weight from a sky the color of old bone. You watch it through the window, the flakes heavy and slow, like ash from a fire that burned long ago. It settles quickly, blanketing the field, the rooftops, the trees bowed with the season's age. By dawn the world is white, still, dimly lit by a sun that doesn't rise so much as linger behind the veil. The village stirs late. People move as if underwater, swaddled in wool, eyes blinking against the sudden hush. Children tumble into the drifts with laughter, but the adults speak less now. Every step leaves a mark that will remain until it's snowed over again, or thawed in spring. The woman wakes early. She sharpens the same blade she always does, packs a satchel with dry bread, flint, waxed cloth. She tightens the wrappings on her boots, knots her cloak. She doesn't tell you where she's going. She doesn't have to. You follow her to the edge of the glade, where the trees have bowed again under the weight of snow. The arch is gone, buried perhaps or simply past. But the path is clear, narrow, firm underfoot, as though others have walked it in the dark. She turns to you, says only, "If I don't return." You shake your head. "You will." She hesitates, a flicker in her face, not fear, but grief. Then she nods and walks into the trees. The boy finds you an hour later, sitting by the fire pit in the square, staring at the coals though they've long since gone gray. He hands you a cup of broth, doesn't speak, just sits. You hear a bell, far off, not from the tower, not from any steeple. It rings low and long and hollow. You do not rise, not yet. 3 days pass. The snow deepens, the wind sharpens, The village shrinks into itself. You see fewer faces, hear fewer doors. And then, on the fourth night, a figure appears at the tree line. She is not alone. Beside her walks another, tall, hunched, wrapped in something not quite cloak, not quite hide. The snow parts before their steps, not melts, yields. The villagers gather at the edge of the firelight as they approach. Silence follows them like a shroud. The woman stops, nods once, then steps aside, and the figure lifts a hand. It holds something, not a coin, not wood, a lantern, small, unlit. They hand it to you. It's warm. You say nothing. Take it. Turn to the fire pit, and kneel. The lantern's flame sparks not from tinder, but from the cold itself. It draws light from the snow, from the silence, from the breath of every gathered villager. And it burns, steady. Inside, you feel the hum rise again. Not in the earth. In you. You look to the woman. She does not smile. She does not cry. She places her hand on your shoulder and says, "It's yours now." And you understand. Not everything, but enough. That night, the fire does not go out. And neither do you. The fire burns clean through the night, untouched by wind or snow. Its glow stretches farther than fire should, casting warmth beyond the village, into the fields, up the tree line, across the frozen river. It touches places long quiet, long waiting. The lantern rests at your feet, flickering gently with a light that doesn't waver. Its glass is etched with shapes that weren't there before. Waves, branches, eyes. You don't try to name them. The villagers sleep, but uneasily. Dreams pass between huts like whispers, like smoke. Some call out in the dark. Some wake with tears they don't remember shedding. You stay awake. So does the woman. So does the boy. He sits across the fire, chin tucked into his knees, his eyes wide open, reflecting the flame. Not afraid, just listening. At dawn, the bells return. 3 this time. Low, then high, then hollow. They echo through your chest. The boy stands, points toward the frozen river. "They're coming," he says. You don't ask how he knows. You gather your cloak, pull the lantern from the coals. Its handle is cool to the touch. Its weight is different now, balanced, not heavy. You walk together through the snow, past sleeping doors and smoking chimneys, through the brittle grass and along the edge of the frozen shore. The snow crunches like old bread. The trees are silent. The wind holds its breath. And then you see them, far off, crossing the ice, 4 figures, moving slowly. 2 carry another. The 4th walks behind, all hooded, hunched against the cold. As they draw nearer, you recognize the shape in the center. A child, wrapped tightly, face turned inward, breathing shallow. You step forward. So does the woman. No words are exchanged. The 2 figures set the child down in the snow. One lifts their hood. An older man, skin weathered, eyes rimmed red. He nods at you. "We followed it," he says. "The flame." You kneel. Open the lantern's door. The boy steps forward, holding something wrapped in cloth. A coin, not newly struck, worn smooth at the edges, its surface marred by salt and time. He places it inside the lantern. The flame accepts it, does not consume it, does not melt it. It joins it. The child stirs. Breath deepens. Eyes flutter open. And for the first time in days, you hear a sound not made by fire or wind or bells. A gasp, followed by silence, followed by being. You lift the lantern, turn back toward the village. The others follow. No questions.
No explanations.
Only return. The path back feels different now. Not shorter, not easier, but marked. And when you pass beneath the old arch of trees, bare now, black against the pale sky, you feel the wood pulse slightly as you cross. The trees remember. They always have. You place the lantern in the center of the square. No one speaks, but everyone understands. Tonight, the fire does not need tending. It will burn, because it must. The snow lingers for weeks. It piles quietly in the corners of windows, presses against doorways, muffles every sound except the occasional caw of a distant bird or the sharp crack of frozen bark. The village shrinks to its essentials: fire, breath, the slow choreography of survival. But the flame in the square never falters. The lantern's light is constant now, not wavering but listening. It shifts with the day, dims with the hush of sleep, brightens when footsteps pass nearby. Children place pine cones beside it, little offerings shaped by mittened hands. The boy refills its oil each morning from a flask that never empties. You do not know how it lasts. You no longer need to. The villagers no longer speak of arrivals as strangers. They say, "Another has returned." The woman begins marking the doorway of each new hut with a charcoal line, 3 curves, forming a spiral. A sign not of origin, but of passage. She says nothing when she does it. No one asks her to stop. One night, the wind rises with purpose. Not a storm, a summons. You wake before it reaches the village, drawn from your sleep by the sense of something pressing just beyond the edge of thought. You step into your boots, gather your cloak, lift the lantern from its resting place. This flame pulses like a heartbeat. The woman meets you at the treeline. She carries her blade again, not drawn, just present. The boy follows without sound. You walk together down the river path. The trees seem to lean inward. The snow hushes your footfalls. The air is clear, cold enough to still breath, but not enough to bite. In the glade, the arch has returned. Clear this time, formed not by trees, but by light. 2 curved columns of frost and mist, rising from the ground, touching to form a perfect crescent. Within them, shadow, not darkness. A figure stands just beyond. A woman, wrapped in linen robes, hair matted with ice. She carries nothing. No pack, no coin, no wound, just her voice. "I've been here before," she says. You do not doubt her. She looks at the boy, then the flame, then she kneels. The frost beneath her vanishes. She breathes in deeply, exhales once, then reaches into her chest, her bare hands pressed to her heart, and pulls something forth. Not a coin, not a relic, a shard of light. She offers it, not to you, to the flame. The lantern opens on its own. The shard enters. The flame changes, not in color, in voice. You hear it now, a hum not of stone, not of soil, of everything that never broke, of everything that remembered itself even when you could not. The woman exhales again, and smiles. The arch fades. The mist rises. She stands, and walks with you, down the path toward the village. No one asks who she is. The boy places another stone on the cairn near the fire. The woman marks another door. You place another log on the fire. The flame bows slightly, and continues. The snow begins to melt at the edges. Not in great floods, but in slow, steady surrenders. Icicles thinning to droplets, rivulets running through the packed paths. The soft return of earth beneath your boots. You hear the return of crows first, then sparrows. Then the creak of wood swelling in the thaw. The village breathes again. Longer, deeper. The air carries scent now, of damp bark, of soil remembering how to live. The boy begins carving shapes into bark. Small spirals, paired arcs. He doesn't say why. You do not ask. The villagers touch them as they pass. One morning, the woman stands at the river's edge, watching the ice drift northward in sheets. Her blade is sheathed. Her hands are bare. "They're near," she says. You nod. That night you gather what must be carried. The lantern, a bundle of dried bread and salted roots, a strip of oilcloth, the old coin, the bone-handled knife. The woman does the same. The boy carries nothing. He simply walks with you, through the glade, across the field, now brown and soft beneath the melting frost, through the thinnest trees, to the place where the wind never stops. There, at the far bend of the river, is the ship. But not as it was. Not timbers and sails. Not anchor and hull. This is form, not function. A vessel shaped from light and memory. Its planks shimmer with the colors of breath. Its mast bends like a reed but stands as firm as stone. The air around it hums, not with urgency, but with welcome. Others are already there. The man with the hollow eyes, the child who once lay near frozen in your arms, the older woman who crossed without memory, and now hums softly as she places stones in the riverbed. You all gather around the ship. No one boards. Not yet. The woman turns to you. It's not the leaving, she says. It's the carrying. You look at the boy. He nods once. Not in understanding. In trust. You lift the lantern. This flame flares, but not in brightness. In clarity. You see now what you couldn't before, that this fire never consumed. Preserved. Not just warmth, but intention. Each ember, a memory returned. Each flicker, a voice unforgotten. Each glow, a name that once crossed. You step toward the ship. The snow crunches beneath you, faint, reluctant. You place the lantern at the bow. It settles, glows, waits. Behind you, the others begin to move, one by one, each placing a hand on the hull, each whispering something too quiet to hear, each marked by the silence that follows. The woman steps last. She places her palm beside yours, and you feel the ship breathe. It does not rise, does not launch. It remembers, and that is enough. For now, the morning is silent, not the hush of sleep, but the deeper silence that follows decision. The ship rests on the riverbank, its body half in water, half in mist. It no longer waits, it simply is, a presence as old as the path beneath your feet, as familiar as the breath in your lungs. No one speaks. The villagers gather slowly, wrapped in wool and quiet, not to watch, not to say farewell, just to be there, to witness. You take your place at the bow. The boy beside you, his hands empty but steady. The woman stands at the stern, her blade sheathed, her eyes on the treeline. Her face is not hardened now, but open, unguarded. One by one, those who are ready approach. A woman with a necklace of teeth. A man whose hands no longer shake. A girl who once fled the burning sky. They place tokens near the lantern. A ring, a carved feather, a blackened spoon. Small things, precious only because they were carried. The lantern accepts them all. This light grows, but not brighter, broader. It stretches into every corner of the vessel, into the water beneath, the sky above. You hear it again. The hum, not of earth now, but of joining, of threads knotting together into something unbreakable. The boy steps forward, places his hand on the lantern's glass. And for a moment, everything pauses. Not time, not breath, but division. The line between what was lost and what was kept. Then the wind shifts, and the river moves. The ship slides forward without sound, its hull parting the mist. It does not rock. It does not turn. Continues. You do not look back. There is nothing behind you now. Only the path ahead, wide as memory, deep as flame. The boy places his hand in yours. The woman watches the shore recede. And together you cross.